Hello, welcome to another sketchbook video. I had no idea what to do. Actually, I kind of had something I wanted to do. I wanted to use my watercolor pencils in my sketchbook, but I don't know, I was realizing it wasn't going to look super great. And maybe it would have been fine if I'd gone ahead with it, but I was kind of like, I don't really want a chance that I put all this effort in and it doesn't turn out, so instead, I just decided I would do a marker page. And I was gonna get my Illo sketchbook, and I also thought of just, getting one of my big pieces of cardstock. But then I'm like, hey, I have my disc-bound sketchbook that has a bunch of different paper in it, including cardstock. So I'm gonna go ahead and just use that. So I did. And then I thought, what am I even going to make? And I usually kind of stray from doing just portraits for videos because I guess I saw a lot of those for a really long time. Whenever people would test markers, they pretty much always did a portrait. So I'm like, I don't really want to do a portrait. So I did a bunch of portraits instead. I tried doing just some rust pictures. I actually had some footage of me doing some just some sketches on cartridge paper that I have in this same book, just to try to get his face right, because you can't see it, but I do have a page that has like some of his proportions and stuff that I liked, that I actually kind of noted. But I just knocked that out because it was a little bit redundant. I had like tons of the same types of expressions as I was practicing, so I didn't want people watching me redraw the same thing over and over and over again. Because, you already kind of do that if you do any sort of, like, lines or whatever. And even then, you're kind of expounding upon your sketch and it, can add some sort of interest. But when it came to that, it was just basically the same thing and sketching twice. And, yeah, it just wasn't going to work out, so I threw it out the window. And went ahead and I just did the cardstock stuff. So, yeah, that's what this is. Just me deciding to do some little emotion things. And they're not super great, but I've said before, he's not super emotional. Later on, he's a little bit better at expressing himself, but in the beginning, he's just not. I don't really know what led me to wanting to draw him again, except for, I've been feeling lately with all the rustiness, haha. So I was like, I'll just draw what was giving me a lot of joy and motivation a while ago. So I kept that one in, but I did end up erasing it, even though rewatching it, it wasn't as bad as I remembered it being, that sketch of his face. I just kept looking at it thinking, it doesn't even look like him, it's not right, whatever, and it wasn't that bad, so I don't know what made me perceive it that way, but it's fine. I redrew it and it's not horrible, so that's what it's all about. Yeah, I went pretty simply. Again, feeling rusty. So, yeah. And then actually, I recorded this one. I felt kind of bad for doing it because my sister and my nephew were here to go to the market, and I felt bad recording while they were here, because it's not like I see them very often. Well, now I do, now that she's coming down to this market, but I still feel a little guilty for leaving and going and filming. But it is what it is. I really needed a video. I mean, I thought I was actually going to have time to edit and get this ready, because we went to the market on Saturday. And right, yes, did I film that same day, or did I film, I don't know. I know that I filmed kind of towards an evening. I didn't have loads and loads of time, I just needed to get it done, and it still took me forever, way too long, but that's okay. And then the next day, because I edited this video, I had it completely edited aside from the color corrections and adding in just like the finished pictures to show at the end. So Completely edited it, got the first render finished. Just needed to do the color corrections. Excuse me. The color corrections and get a voiceover done and everything, which I ran out of time for. I was going to have to do it the next day. Then I found out, yippee-ki-yay, that I had to work the next day, and I only found out at night, so I didn't have any time, and I was going to have to get up pretty early, because we were going to be moving cattle from one pasture to another, and it was going to be across the highway. Not even just across the highway, it was over the highway, up a ways, and then it was an ordeal. It was a crazy, wild day. And they are not my favorite days. But we managed that. It just meant I could not finish my video that day. And it took way longer than it needed to because we were just having a whole bunch of issues. So whenever I got back, there was no way I was going to be able to do a voiceover. So yeah, I had to give up on that and just recognize that this video was going to be a bit late. Then to add on to that, I found out that my sister and I were going to be, we kind of help our neighbor out every now and again. I say help out, but we do get paid cleaning up their houses because they have two. So I was going to have to do that. I wasn't really planning it. Or at least I kind of forgot the day that it was supposed to be, maybe. I don't know. And yeah, so I just super ran out of time. And it was going to be late, and I was a little disappointed, but it's okay. It just happens sometimes, and I couldn't really make it work. And I think I actually managed in this video to show each marker that I used. I was really trying not to skip over that. And at the same time, my sister was also working, but this day I remembered to actually turn off the air conditioner and close the door, so it's not as bad, and I tried my best to listen through it and take out all of the really loud beeps that you end up hearing from the laser, because we have a bunch of stuff to do. Actually, every single time we're almost finished with another thing, we get double the orders that we had before for something else, and it's all custom stuff, so unfortunately it's not just things that you can just ship and give to people or whatever. It has to be custom, so it's just extra work when you don't have any time. This one on the upper left, so I was actually having, I don't know if I had a weird spot in this paper, because all of the other spots that I was using these same markers on, they were blending a little bit better, but in this one spot there must have been a dead spot in it, like the paper must have gotten rubbed right there or something. Can you see just under the jaw how it spread? So like none of the other ones really spread like that, and even when I went in to do the hair and everything, it did have some issues. And admittedly, I was a little concerned. But I've used this cardstock quite a few times for marker, and it's really good. See, I was testing that. I immediately touched it and then looked back, and it just seemed like it was blending a lot better. But just on that one side, because all the other ones did fine. They kind of dissolved into each other the way that they're supposed to. Maybe I just added a little too much brown, but it just felt weird, because even when I was doing the hair, it just felt like it wasn't blending like it usually does. That does happen. I think I've mentioned that before when I was doing watercolor, that sometimes paper just has like kind of some dead spots in it, but either way, we figured it out. When I first did this and I was looking at it, I didn't feel like it was a great page, and probably if I'd had the time, I would have completely redone it. But I did not. That was all the time that I had. So this is the video that we get. And hopefully that's cool, because it's been exhausting, my friends. My insomnia is like at 11 right now, and mix that with having to get up early all the time, and it is taking it out of me. I shouldn't complain. I know there's plenty of people who have it much worse in that department, but it is a lot. And then when I also have to try to, pull myself together and get some stuff going for work of all different kinds, it's rough. It's rough. I wish I'd remembered it at the time, but I actually have a whole sketch page of Rust with marker in my Illo sketchbook, and I think I chose colors for him that I really liked. His eyes are supposed to be a glacier blue, and I had the exact colors I wanted for his hair that worked. I had the reference of his face turning that I felt was, decently accurate to his proportions. And his skin tone, which is a big deal because in this, even still, he's not pale enough, which is probably me adding a little too much of this brown color, which I did change from the top ones. I chose something just slightly lighter. So yeah, but that's okay. I did not remember, and I just had to pick some new colors, which honestly probably took the most time, just going through that giant bag of 320 colors and trying to find the ones that I want. I don't really dislike it. It's kind of therapeutic. Just looking at the paper and imagining how the colors will look when they dissolve into each other. I try to keep that in mind, at least, because obviously when one color goes over another, they do bleed together, and they can sometimes adjust the color temperature of the neighboring color, and I find that really interesting. Actually, adding in the purple that I do later on, it's like a lavender. I can't remember the exact numbers on it, but I do show it later. I had experimented with that when I'd done that page in my Illo sketchbook of all the different rusts. And I thought, this isn't too bad. It's almost like using a multiply layer, like I usually do. I like doing the base tones the way that they would be, and then adding the deep shadows. So right here's that purpley color I'm thinking. I really liked it. It was working really well. That's the color that it is. R250. Antique Fuchsia. I really like that. On the old one, I'm pretty sure I used like a shadow purple or something with shadow in it, and it was a bit too dark. And I still had that in mind whenever I got to these, so I went ahead and used something lighter, and I think it was significantly more successful, which is good. I do show a really dark red with these, and I didn't end up using it. It was just if I needed to add some really deep shadows. Also, I felt really lost doing this hair. I was not paying attention to the volume like I usually do, so they kind of get a little bit better as I go, which is fine. I did not have any time to warm up. I pretty much did all of my morning stuff and then just went and filmed this when I could. And it took a really long time. Like I said, I didn't turn my camera off when I was actually picking the colors, so I had to cut out loads and loads of time. That's how I know that it took forever. And because of that, I think it ended up taking me like 2 hours or something just to do these, which is a lot of time, but it's fine. They're color, so I almost considered just doing these gray, but I really wanted to use my markers. It's been a while and they're really fun, so. And this book, I really like my disc-bound book. It's really nice because I kind of catered it to myself, so it's got the paper that I like to sketch with in it, and then it's got the cardstock for, like some I don't really want to say nicer things, but I guess some colored things. And then I've got some lined paper because I'm constantly taking notes or writing small scenes just so I don't forget them, I suppose. Oh, and I make lists. I usually try to just do that digitally so that I'm not wasting a bunch of paper, but sometimes I just need a physical list. Yeah, and then his hair is just too much of an orangey red. And that's not terrible, but in the story I do specify that it's more of a burgundy. I think I mean burgundy. My brain says no. And then right here I'm experimenting a little bit more. Just putting down kind of like my mid-tone first and then adding the darker color. I do change this up occasionally. I think the blend is really nice when you start with the darkest color for what I do, but then I ended up liking how this one turned out. So maybe with certain parts I will change how I do things. I'll do things exactly the same for the longest time, and then suddenly I'm like, nah, now we're doing it a different way. When I got to that bottom right one, I'm like, man, I want to draw a hat. Because again, he does wear a hat. He's quite pale. If you're pale or even just sunburn easily, yeah, you know the need for that hat. Also, you know, from working, I have to wear a hat all the time. I have a ball cap that I just wear most of the time. I think I got it for one of my birthdays, gosh, when I was 12 or 13 or something, from somebody that I knew, and I still wear it. And then I have what I call my granny hat, which is just a wide-brimmed, soft, kind of floppy hat, like a sun hat almost. And I wear that one a lot too. But I just couldn't see Rust wearing a granny hat, so he gets a ball cap. I know from the bounce light, the middle part of those shadows will end up being lighter. I couldn't hold that too much. So instead, later on, whenever I grab my color pencils, I just went ahead and added a nice, bright, saturated sun color up against that, just to darken it in its own way. By contrast is what I mean. I really like these two colors. I have the sheet of paper where I was first doing some portraits as practice for some skin tones and testing these markers whenever I first got them in. And I gave one of the ladies, I think she's on the upper right of the page, kind of this green color mixture for her eyes, and it was really pretty. Just a gorgeous mossy green. Yeah, these are just, it's like a little Prismacolor Premier color pencil set. Another one that I got years ago, I think for Christmas or something. You can tell I use my browns quite often. When I got my pencil sharpener last year, I started sharpening absolutely everything in the world. I haven't had an electric pencil sharpener, I don't think, in my whole life until then, so it's pretty handy. Not gonna say I've never used one, because I think there was one in school when I went to school. I only went to school until the end of 2nd grade. And then I was homeschooled, so, because our school was terrible. Don't really want to go into that, but it was awful. Then I took my GED when I was 17 and passed and moved on with my life. Yeah, I'm just adding like little strands. I think I should have gone in a little bit more with the markers themselves and kind of broken the hair up a little bit more. But I hadn't used markers in a long time, so I forgot some of the stuff that I had done that I liked. I just wanted to put a little bit more detail into those shadows on his face. And then some of the freckles are marker and some of them are actually color pencil. I shouldn't have made them so inconsistent between each face and like actually tried to use the same ones, but I did not. Which is fine. I actually ended up going over that really dark spot on his face. I considered just making it look like he had some like 5 o'clock shadow and kind of spreading it a little bit, but instead I just took the white color pencil and the peach one and kind of drew over the top of it. Not perfect, but obviously these are like much smaller than you're seeing them, so it's not as noticeable in person, and they're just sketch pages, so it's okay. Like, you can still see the sketch in it. Because actually, I forgot to bring my kneaded eraser with me for some reason. I thought I had it. I guess I was thinking about my old bag where I always carried it in there instead of that new multi-tiered bag. Unfortunately, I didn't have it with me, and I like using it when I'm going to be doing marker and color pencil because I can clean it up. And it just makes much cleaner sketches, but to actually put the marker over the top of. But that's okay. And then I'm just adding a little tiny touch of detail here and there with this white color pencil. And I didn't have my light fast one, so I just had to use this one. And luckily they usually go over marker decently well. But I still prefer my other one because it lays down really nice white lines. And you can see I did put the blue on, and I must have missed, when I was editing, I must have putting this in. I'm sitting in a kind of a hot place to record this, and I am terrible with the heat, so bear with me. Also fighting coughing because I don't know, I think I took in some dust or something. I'm like about to sneeze or cough or something. Explode, I don't know. And then I decided to just add some cooler tones because he's so warm right here. He actually has kind of a cooler tint to his skin. I'm the same way. I have kind of a bluish tint to my skin, so I was like, well, I'm going to cool down some of this, and I think it will make it look better and more varied. So I took 2 different blues. I put it throughout the hair and the skin, and I think it helped. And then I added some stray hairs because obviously when you use marker, you're not going to get a very small line because I'm not using a bullet nib, so, or a bullet tip, so I'm using the brush. So it's much easier to just go in with the color pencil and add some stray hairs just to make it look less uniform and chunky. Unfortunately, I do sometimes use or lose some of my sharper edges whenever I go over them with marker. But I'm sure the more I did it, the better I'd be at, you know, keeping those consistent throughout the entire picture. Then the whole page was just white all around him, and I didn't really like it, so I took that same blue, because obviously it's going to contrast well with red and orange and also green. So, yep, just went ahead and added a blue background. I almost was going to do different colors for different emotions, and I don't know, I just decided I didn't really see the point in that, and yeah. And I wanted to go home and have a canned margarita, so, you know, there's that too. So this is where I was actually putting in the sun color up against there. And needed to put a little bit more on his face. Since I'd added that cool color, I thought it would be really nice. So there he is. I hope you liked this video. I know it's not super fantabulous, but it was nice. It was nice actually to sit and draw, and even though in the beginning I was a little nervous and frustrated, we got through it and came to enjoy it. So yeah, thank you for sitting and watching or listening. I super appreciate it. Please let me know what you thought, and yeah, have a good day or night, and bye.